May 15th, 2004. Highbury Stadium. The sun is shining, and Arsenal Football Club has just done the impossible. Played 38. Won 26. Drawn 12. Lost 0. They were the Invincibles. Immortal. At that moment, if you had told any Arsenal fan that this team, the greatest side in English history, would not lift the Premier League trophy again for 20 years, they would have laughed in your face. They felt like a dynasty in the making. But they weren't witnessing a beginning. They were witnessing a funeral. How does perfection simply vanish? This isn't just a story about football tactics. It is a tragedy of economics, betrayal, and a game that changed its rules while Arsenal refused to adapt. From invincible to invisible. This is why they fell. Welcome back. Today, we are dissecting the collapse of a giant. To understand why Arsenal failed to win the league again after 2004, we have to look past the pitch. We have to look at the boardroom and the bank accounts. The narrative often goes that Arsene Wenger lost his touch. But the truth is darker. The Invincibles didn't just get old. They were sacrificed. Sacrificed for a dream of a new stadium that promised a future but cost them their present. In this video, we will explore the 5 fatal wounds that killed the Invincibles. The mortgage that strangled the club, the Russian oligarch who broke the market, the exodus of leaders, the tactical naivety, and the psychological scars that never healed. By the end of this, you might not blame Wenger. You might just pity him. The first nail in the coffin was forged in concrete. The Emirates Stadium. In the early 2000s, the logic was sound. Highbury was magical, but it was tiny. 38,000 seats meant Arsenal couldn't compete financially with Manchester United's Old Trafford. So, they decided to build a palace. But palaces are expensive. The project cost £390 million. To fund it, Arsenal took on massive debt. And the banks, well, the banks demanded collateral. They demanded long-term contracts that tied Wenger's hands behind his back. For nearly a decade, every penny generated didn't go into buying superstars. It went into paying the mortgage. Think of it like this. Imagine you sell your car to buy a bigger house, but now you can't afford the gas to drive to work. That was Arsenal. While their rivals were shopping at luxury boutiques, Wenger was forced to bargain hunt. He had to sell his best assets just to keep the lights on. The stadium was supposed to secure their future dominance. Instead, it became the prison that trapped them in mediocrity. While Arsenal was tightening its belt, a hurricane hit West London. July 2003. Roman Abramovich buys Chelsea. Before this moment, football clubs spent what they earned. It was a closed ecosystem. If you sold tickets, you bought players. Arsenal's business model was built for that world. But Abramovich didn't care about ticket sales. He had oil money, infinite resources. Suddenly, the price of success inflated overnight. Players that should have cost 10 million were now costing 30. Wages skyrocketed. Arsenal, shackled by their stadium debt, were trying to fight a tank with a wooden stick. When Chelsea won the league in 2005, it wasn't just a title change. It was a regime change. Arsenal's carefully cultivated self-sustaining model was obsolete instantly. They were playing a strategy game, while Chelsea was playing with cheat codes. And later, when Manchester City followed suit in 2008, the gap became a canyon. Arsenal could no longer compete for the very best talent in the world. The Invincibles were the last kings of the old world, killed by the new money. Money is one thing. Soul is another. The Invincibles weren't just talented. They were monsters. Patrick Vieira, Sol Campbell, Gilberto Silva. These were men who stood 6 foot something and would fight you in the tunnel before the game even started. They had grit. But between 2005 and 2007, the spine was ripped out. Patrick Vieira was sold to Juventus. Robert Pires allowed to leave. Dennis Bergkamp retired. And finally, the king, Thierry Henry, left for Barcelona. In the span of 24 months, the dressing room lost its leaders. And who replaced them? Children. Talented children, like Cesc Fabregas and Samir Nasri, but children nonetheless. Wenger launched Project Youth. He believed he could mold young players into champions. But when the rain poured in Stoke, or the tackles flew in at Bolton, these young technicians didn't have the veterans to protect them. The fear factor was gone. Teams used to look at Arsenal in the tunnel and lose the game right there. Now, they looked at these teenagers and thought, we can bully them. This leads us to the tactical death. The Premier League is a living organism. It evolves. The Invincibles played a counter-attacking 4-4-2 with power and pace. But Jose Mourinho arrived and introduced a defensive, physical, low-block style designed specifically to kill Arsenal's flow. Wenger refused to compromise. He became obsessed with purity. He wanted to walk the ball into the net. As the league became more athletic, more organized, and more high-pressing, Arsenal became predictable. They were beautiful to watch, but fragile. Teams figured out the blueprint. Kick them, sit deep, hit them on the counter. Arsenal had no plan B. While Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United reinvented his team 3 times in this period, Wenger stuck to his philosophy even as it burned down around him. It was noble, but it was fatal. The league became a street fight, and Arsenal was still trying to play chess. If there is one moment, one single second where the post-Invincible dream truly died, it was February 23, 2008. St. Andrew's Stadium, Birmingham City. Arsenal were 5 points clear at the top. They were flying. Then, Martin Taylor tackled Eduardo. The injury was horrific, but the reaction was worse. The captain, William Gallas, didn't rally his troops. He walked to the other end of the pitch and sat down in a sulk. He cried. In that moment, the fragility of the team was exposed to the world. They drew the game 2-2. They won only one of their next 8 games. The title challenge evaporated. That season was their best chance to bridge the gap, to prove that Project Youth could work. But when the pressure peaked, they shattered. It created a psychological scar, a narrative that Arsenal were bottlers, a narrative that haunted them for the next decade. The decline of the Invincibles wasn't a sudden explosion. It was a slow, painful erosion. They were victims of timing, victims of finance, and victims of their own stubborn idealism. They chased perfection, and when they caught it in 2004, they didn't realize it would cost them the next 20 years. What do you think was the biggest factor? Was it the stadium debt, or was it Wenger's refusal to adapt tactically? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into football history, hit that like button and subscribe for more documentaries on the beautiful game. Thanks for watching.